I will never forget the feelings of fear, shame, guilt, and pain that threatened to overwhelm me that day sitting in the maternity ward with my 4-year-old daughter. There was a young woman who was bringing cookies around who had just asked Emma if she was excited to be a big sister, and I had to utter the words out loud. We're actually here because I had an abortion that caused me some problems. The look of shock on her face confirmed every terrible thought that had been swirling in my mind until that moment. The main one: you are a terrible mother and a selfish woman. If you're new here, my name is Abigail Elizabeth, and I recently started my podcast, Kaizen Learning Motivational Talks with Successful Entrepreneurs. And I realized one key piece was missing from this podcast: my stories. I am a woman who has been up a mountain and down a valley, you name it, and I probably have some wild experience to share about it. And through most of that journey, hard, wild, luxurious, whatever, through all of that, I have been an entrepreneur. I have been working hard to develop my skills, my ingenuity, and my practices to make me the most talented entrepreneur that I can be. And I have a lot of valuable insights that I would like to share with you. And so now, every couple of episodes, after I've interviewed other successful entrepreneurs, I'm going to drop a little piece of my story in there. So why do I share this somewhat jarring story with you? It's to illustrate a point. We all have experiences in our lives that feed a narrative that we believe about ourselves deep down inside. And those stories often drive our behaviors in life. I am a woman who had an abortion between my 2 living children. That is a piece of my story that until now, I have only shared with a very small handful of people, 2 of whom were my own daughters. When I made that decision, I had just exited a relationship with an alcoholic and somewhat abusive individual who I knew I could not remain in contact with. I also knew from firsthand experience how hard it was to co-parent with someone who I didn't have a healthy relationship with. And I knew that the father had a family that had a lot of money. They would definitely get involved, and I was already very overwhelmed and drowning in custody cases that I couldn't afford that were being sponsored by my ex's parents. I knew that I loved being a mom, and that if I kept that pregnancy, not only would it make my life that was already very challenging even more challenging, but I also knew I was not going to be able to give that baby up. And that emotionally, I could not handle another relationship dynamic like the one that I was already in constant arbitration and abuse with. I knew all of those things, and yet when I sat in that room, bleeding for days, feeling like I was dying, there was not an ounce of grace to be had for myself. And later, when I became pregnant again, I was really excited. I felt like it was my moment for redemption. And after my first appointment, when I got a phone call that my initial test results had come back as abnormal, and then I needed to come back in for further testing, I remember sitting in that room after my very first ever conization. Super, super fun little procedure. I remember the doctor telling me that I had cervical cancer and that they recommended evacuating the fetus and starting treatment immediately. That story still lived on. I was a terrible person. This was God punishing me. I am not here to say whether abortion is right or wrong. That is between you and your maker. I am a very flawed being with limited knowledge, and the older I get, the more I realize the less I know. I don't know why it was different with Reagan, why my heart cried out. But I felt from the very moment that that doctor suggested it that I did not want to do that. That Reagan was meant to exist in this world, even if that meant that I could not. This was not a popular decision with some people. My treatment plan was not a popular decision with many people. And so much of that time in my life was a struggle, a mental struggle, a battle, a physical struggle. an emotional struggle, a relational struggle. And it did, in the back of my mind, feel like a secret little punishment from God for being selfish. That was the story I was telling myself. Was this the case? No, I do not believe now for an instant that it was, nor do I believe that I am a terrible person. In fact, I know deeply that I am quite the opposite. I am a good and kind woman who definitely makes dumb mistakes and who owns them and chooses again and again and again to stand up faster and faster and continue moving towards the woman I want to be in this life. We are not inherently anything. We are the sum of the decisions that we repeatedly choose. Let that sink in for you. You are not inherently good or bad. You are not inherently anything. You are the sum of the decisions that you repeatedly choose. But the really epic thing about this is that if we ever find ourselves unhappy with this version of ourselves at any point in time, we can choose right then and there to change that trajectory. And it's like getting physically fit. One day of actions is not going to create visible results in your life. 2 days of actions is not going to create visible results in your life. But if you can continue taking actions towards the person that you want to become, over time, those changes will start appearing. And the more you push in, the more you're going to see that new person grow, that new piece of your life expand. And with that, recognizing that your actions are what they are, and you will have to live with the consequences of them. I do not feel like it was a punishment, but I do feel like I do have to live with the consequences of every decision I've ever made. I do absolutely have a lot of feelings about my abortion, especially after raising 2 amazing daughters and seeing and knowing the capacity and the potential for life. And all of that said, I am still so glad that I had that abortion. I believe with all of me that the decisions that we make determine who we become. And I love who I am. And I believe with all of me that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, that everything happens for a reason. I got pregnant at 18 and I chose to give up my scholarship and my dreamed future. Why didn't I have an abortion then? I don't fully know why past Abigail had such swaying convictions. But I do know that my life as a woman, a mother, a friend, a daughter, a teacher has been one of kindness and love and empathy. I do know that I give patience and forgiveness easily. I do know that I work very long and hard, and I expect big things of myself, but that I will get the job done and I will show up. I do know with all of me that I have a deep desire to make this world a better place and to share the lessons that I've learned in this life of mine. And there are a lot of them. Whether you're listening to this to learn how to grow yourself as an entrepreneur, or you're just someone who wants to live a life that's filled with joy and experience, rather than just fitting in with the mundanities of everyday life, don't allow the choices that you've made along the way to feed those narratives about you. You have made decisions. You have made mistakes, and you will make them again. And saying that, each failure is such a win because it is an opportunity to discover what you really want and to shift your mindset. Those struggles, those hardships, they build resilience. They highlight growth opportunities and increase our adaptability and our problem-solving skills. Life is hard, and that's a good thing. Business is hard, and that is a good thing. So many people today are opposed to the pain and the suffering and the hard, and I get it. But I'm calling BS because struggle is a great thing. The struggle is where the meat of the story is at. If you went to a movie and nothing bad ever happened, there was no problem, the main character never met any opposition, that would be a boring ass movie. The struggle allows the opportunity to grow and to overcome and to see what we are capable of. Let's recognize the beauty in not knowing, in being bad, in falling on our faces and figuring things out. I just started my podcast. Do you know how badly I want hundreds and thousands of views? How much I want what I say to matter and to help, to impact the world? I want it so badly that I'm not going to let it be about the views. I want it so badly that even if it takes me years and years, and even if I have to pivot and struggle and learn and work to get there, I am willing to put in that work for my dreams. I want it so bad that I am willing to work on other projects in the background to pay the bills while I make these dreams happen. I want it so bad that I'm willing to face rejection 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, just for the chance that what I say can impact lives. That what I say can be there at just the right moment for that person who really needed to hear it. I say it over and over again, and I will keep saying it. Life is long and it is short. There is duality, and it is so important to embrace the now moments and the joy of today and live big, all while acting daily in behaviors that lead you toward that ultimate goal life. Success comes in all shapes and sizes and should truly be an individual vision that brings you bliss. Whatever that looks like for you, I would love to be a part of your journey. And if you made it to this place in the podcast, I sincerely want to thank you. The algorithm shows that not many people make it past that 3-minute mark, and your time and your interest truly means the world to me. If you found this interesting and you would love to receive more motivational talks on your journey, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and then go ahead and click that bell right down there so that you get notified each time a new episode drops and you never miss a beat. If you are interested in checking out one of my interviews with other successful entrepreneurs, go and click below to discover some amazing insights. Thank you so much for listening, and just really encouraging you to look at what types of stories and narratives in your life are going on in the background. What thoughts are holding you back? What do you believe that you deserve in this world? And what are you willing to go for, even if that narrative is telling you that you don't deserve it? Have a great day, guys. Take care.